Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Congressman Mark Pocan is on the line with us for the hour, taking your calls. And Dave in Huffman Estates, Illinois, listening to WCPT. Dave, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Congressman. Now, curious, about a month ago I had reported to Tom, or I had read where Canada is proposing to build a permanent nuclear waste repository, less than a mile from Lake Huron. And,
Nate?
Pardon?
Muted my microphone. Keep going.
Okay, anyway, I was curious to see, and I know the congressman was one of the original co-signers on, trying to stop them from doing this repository. Has there been any movement on that he can speak of?
Dave, I don't have an update for you. I wish I did, but I don't at this point. And clearly, something that close to lakes concerns not just people in the region, but it's a real issue around fresh water, and we have lots of strong concerns of why we didn't want to have it happen. But I don't have an update for you. I apologize, Dave.
Okay. Jim in Denver, Colorado. Jim, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Thank you for taking my call, Tom and Congressman Pocan. I'd like to see if, Trump's saying he could make a deal with the Democrats. The Democrats won't vote for their Republican health care plan, and the Republicans will never vote for the Republican don't care health plan. I think what we ought to do is, if Trump would make a deal to extend the risk corridors and the money doesn't cut anybody off until 2018 in the national election, the midterm election, have a national referendum and let the voters decide. It's too important for people in Congress, and is messed up as Congress is, they don't want to decide it anyway.
On single payer, Jim.
I've got one other little point. I know you don't like national referendums, Tom, but I have an idea. If each side would donate half of the money that they collect for their, advertising for their side, and so if the Koch brothers donated $10 billion, they would give the poor side, $5 billion. If the poor Democrats only raised $25,000, they'd have to give $12.5 to the rich people.
Okay, Congressman, to the best of my knowledge, the Constitution does not provide for a referendum, a national referendum system. Am I missing something?
No, I think you're correct, and I would have concerns as well, because we know that you can't necessarily just allow mass rule on some issues. There's some complexities to things, and that could be a problem. I've watched states that sometimes do this and wind up with things that it takes them decades to unwind out of because of how you fund the campaigns that could affect that referendum, right? There's still that outside influence. So I don't know of a path to do something like that. I do think, though, that what Jim brought up, Jim, I honestly don't think Donald Trump is really trying to find a way to compromise with Democrats on health care. What I think is, I've been told in his office he has a whiteboard up with all his promises in a very light version. In other words, repeal Obamacare. And he wants to check that box. That's his big concern. I don't think he really cares all that much about people who have or wouldn't have health care. And I think that he put that out there as a threat to try to get the Tea Party to come on board, and they didn't fall for his threat. So since then, Paul Ryan said, no, anything we do is going to be only with the Republicans. I really don't think there is initiative to try to reach across the aisle and come up with a real solution on health care.
Okay. Susan in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, thank you very much. Congressman, it is so wonderful to speak with you. Thank you for making yourself available on a program like this and taking calls from people all over our country about everything.
Of course, Susan. I love doing this. This is a great hour every week.
It's a lot of fun to listen to, too. My question is, in regards to Mr. Trump, if he was impeached versus if he was found to be an illegitimate president because of the Russia connection or whatever, what does that mean for us, the taxpayers? Do we continue to pay a salary, provide him protection and all that other fun stuff? Or, has there ever been an illegitimate president in our history? Just kind of what does that mean?
Yeah,
kind of
I'll
Nixon.
you're asking questions that, Susan, quite honestly, are probably a step or two beyond where we're at. In order to impeach, I don't know if the illegitimate president would probably have to happen through impeachment, right? Would have to say that somehow he was complicit with what the Russians were doing, interfering in the elections. They knew about it. They timed events with them. None of these things are out of the realm of possibilities, so it's very likely that if more information comes out, you might see more links like this. And if that happens, certainly I think that would be fall on the grounds for impeachment, and then anything that would happen with someone who's been impeached would then be happening. What we have to remember is, in order to get to that level of impeachment, it's kind of like when you take a case to trial. Even though you may know you're right on it, you've got to be able to kind of prove it almost beyond a reasonable doubt, because you have to get a jury with you. In this case, the jury are the Republican members of Congress because they're in the majority. We need to get their votes to do it. So we have to really just keep pursuing the truth on this, whether it be through an independent investigation or whether it be great journalism that's out there helping to expose things like they did when the Attorney General lied to Congress about his past contacts with Russian officials. We need to really keep working on making that burden so that it's, with beyond any reasonable doubt that even a Republican would have to look at and say, no, this is something that's impeachable. And then, quite honestly, we'll figure out the rest. So, Susan, I think you have a great question for the next steps, and I don't know what they are because, quite honestly, what we're working on now is how do we just get the truth? That's the one thing that everyone needs to get. And if Donald Trump did nothing wrong, he should also be behind getting the truth, because then it's in his best interest so he can move forward.
Well said. Patricia in Portage, Wisconsin, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hey, Congressman Pocan, I just want to commend you for your integrity in representing all of us. And I attended the listening session of Representative Grothman last week, and as a journalist for A Living World for wildlife, I brought up to him that 2/3 of wildlife on the planet have been destroyed, and that the Vatican recently met on that. And his response was, well, there's concerns up north about wolves, and we've got to kill wolves. So, my request to you is that you look into something you can do federally, which would be to end wildlife services, because that is destroying millions of wildlife with poisons that go through the food chain. It's an anachronism. It should be ended, because we cannot afford, with 60% of our large mammals on the planet facing extinction right now, we cannot afford to have them destroying natural predators to facilitate destroying our public lands with grazing. We just have to change soon, or things are, 1/3 of wildlife left is a crisis.
No, I hear you, Tricia, and let me say this first. Thank you for attending the town hall of Glenn Grothman, and I hope that all your listeners, Tom, attend town halls, whether it's for Democrats or Republicans. We need to be held accountable, and I think groups like Indivisible are giving people really great tools on how to ask the right questions and press to get the right answers. But as Tricia knows, and Tom, I don't know if you know, but Glenn Grothman is from Wisconsin. He's a relatively newer member of Congress in the state legislature here. He was a proponent for a 7-day work week. He thinks there's a war on men in this country, not a war on women. He thinks on welfare you can make $35,000 a year doing nothing. And
this guy's got to be a Republican, right?
Yes, and he absolutely hates, Tom, and really, don't bring it up if you ever run into him, Kwanzaa. It just really upsets him. So, as you could tell, this is a guy that John Oliver had a little fun with one time looking at his record. So, just the fact that people are going to those town halls, it's so important, because you're able to face-to-face put those questions out there, hold them accountable, don't let them get away. I'll tell you, the thing I tell people when I talk about advocacy, if you don't mind, Tom, let me just do this real quick. When people are nodding their head when you're talking to them, do you know what that means, Tom?
No.
That means that you have the muscles in the back of your neck that allow your head to go up and down. That does not mean yes. And you have to hold people to a yes or no, because quite honestly, no one wants to say they're not in agreement with you, but you can't let them get away with it. And face-to-face is the best way to get and hold people accountable. So thank you for attending, Tricia. I'll take a look at your suggestion and see if there is something we might be able to do federally, and let me just take a look at that. But I really think it's such an important conversation to have people going to the town halls and holding people accountable right now is one of the most important things you can do.
Congressman Mark Pocan with us for the hour, taking your calls. We'll be back in just a moment with more of your calls for the Congressman. You can reach his website is Pocan, Pocan.house.gov, and you can tweet him at @RepMarkPocan.